The massive doors of the council chamber slammed shut with a sound that echoed through the space like thunder. Ambassador Kim Woo-jin stood alone in the center of the circular room, surrounded by 12 towering alien representatives. Each one looked down at him from their elevated platforms, their strange faces showing no emotion he could read. The Nexus Prime Station hung in the void between galaxies, a neutral meeting place where the most powerful species in the known universe made decisions that affected billions of lives. Today they had made a decision about humanity. "The vote is final," announced the Vorthon Prime Speaker, its crystalline voice cutting through the silence. 11 votes for containment, 0 votes against, 1 abstention from the Void Walker. Representative. Kim Woo-jin felt his heart sink, but he kept his face calm. He had expected this outcome, but hearing it spoken aloud made it real. "May I ask the specific charges against my people?" The Kelhari delegate leaned forward, its 6 eyes blinking in sequence. "Your species shows dangerous patterns of growth. In just 200 years since first contact, you have spread to 47 star systems. Your technology advances at rates that concern us. You adapt too quickly," added the Thorian representative, its massive form shifting on its platform. "Other species take thousands of years to master new concepts. Humans learn them in decades, then improve upon them." The Zephyrian council member's tentacles writhed as it spoke. "Your people show no respect for established boundaries. You explore regions we have marked as forbidden. You ask questions about things that should remain unknown." Kim Woo-jin listened to each accusation, storing them in his memory. These were not the real reasons he knew. The council feared humanity for something deeper than curiosity or quick learning. "The human containment protocol is now in effect," the Prime Speaker continued. "All human vessels have 72 standard hours to exit council space. Any human found in our territories after that time will be treated as an invader. You are banned from all trade agreements, all technological exchanges, and all diplomatic relations with council member species," the Kelhari added. "Your home system of Sol will be quarantined. Automated defense platforms will ensure compliance." The words hit Kim Woo-jin like physical blows. Humanity was being cut off from the galactic community completely. No trade meant no access to advanced materials. No technology exchange meant they would fall behind quickly. No diplomacy meant they were alone. But something in the way the aliens spoke bothered him. They seemed nervous, not triumphant. If humanity was really such a minor threat, why did they look worried about their own decision? "I understand, Kim," Woo-jin said quietly. "I will inform my government immediately." The Prime Speaker's crystalline form pulsed with light. "Your ship, the Prometheus Dawn, will be escorted to the edge of council space. Captain Lee Tae-min has been notified." As Kim Woo-jin turned to leave, the Void Walker representative spoke for the first time. Its voice was like whispers in the dark, barely audible. "Some mistakes cannot be undone, Ambassador. Some doors once opened can never be closed again." The other council members shifted uncomfortably at these words, but none of them spoke. Kim Woo-jin nodded to the Void Walker and walked toward the exit, his mind racing with questions. Captain Lee Tae-min was waiting for him at the docking bay. The tall, serious man had commanded the Prometheus Dawn for 5 years, serving as humanity's primary diplomatic vessel. His face showed no surprise at the news. "How long do we have?" Lee Tae-min asked as they walked toward the ship. 72 hours to clear council space entirely," Kim Woo-jin replied. "After that, we're considered enemies." "I see." The captain was quiet for a moment. "Dr. Park So-young has been working in the data archives. She found something interesting." They entered the ship and headed for the research lab. Dr. Park So-young looked up from her workstation as they approached. The xenobiologist had spent years studying alien cultures and had more knowledge about council species than any other human. "Ambassador," she said, her voice tight with excitement, "I've been reviewing historical records in the council database. Humans aren't the first species to be banned." Kim Woo-jin felt a chill run down his spine. "What do you mean?" Dr. Park So-young activated a holographic display. 3 other species have been quarantined by the Council in the past 1,000 years: the Etherians, the Nova Builders, and the Starweavers. All of them showed similar patterns to humanity: rapid advancement, aggressive exploration, and what the Council called dangerous adaptability. What happened to them? Captain Lee Taman asked. That's the strange part, Dr. Park So-young said, manipulating the display to show timeline data. After their quarantine, each species simply disappeared from all records. No more communications, no more sightings, nothing. It's as if they vanished completely. The 3 humans stared at the data in silence. The implications were terrifying. Had the Council destroyed these species, or had something else happened to them? There's more, Dr. Park So-young continued. I found communication logs between Council members discussing each quarantine. They always use the same phrases: fear of exponential growth, concern about technological unpredictability, worry about species that adapt too quickly. Kim Woo-jin realized the truth with sudden clarity. They're not punishing us for being aggressive or dangerous. They're afraid of what we might become. Captain Lee Taman nodded grimly. The question is, what do we do about it? Before anyone could answer, the ship's communication system activated. Admiral Choi Mi-ran's face appeared on the main screen, broadcasting from Earth. The Admiral was the head of Earth's Deep Space Defense Initiative, a position most people thought was largely ceremonial. Ambassador Kim, she said, her voice carrying an authority that seemed different somehow. I trust you've received the Council's decision? Yes, Admiral. We're being escorted out of Council space as we speak. Admiral Choi Mi-ran smiled, and there was something in that smile that made Kim Woo-jin's pulse quicken. Then it's time to come home. There are things you need to see. The communication ended, leaving the 3 diplomats staring at the blank screen. Captain Lee Taman was the first to speak. Did that seem strange to you? Dr. Park So-young was already working at her console again. Admiral Choi Mi-ran has been very quiet about the Defense Initiative's actual projects. Most people assume it's just research and development. Maybe it's time we found out what they've really been doing, Kim Woo-jin said. As the Prometheus Dawn began its journey back toward human space, none of them could have imagined what they would discover when they arrived home. The Council thought they had contained humanity, but they had no idea what humanity had been preparing for this exact moment. In the depths of space, automated beacons began transmitting on frequencies the Council had never detected. Messages flowed along quantum-encrypted channels to hidden outposts and secret colonies. The signal was simple, but profound. The future had already begun. The Prometheus Dawn had been traveling for 2 days when the first beacon responded. Captain Lee Taman was reviewing navigation charts when his communications officer called out in surprise. Captain, we're receiving a transmission. The signal is coming from empty space. Lee Taman frowned and walked over to the communication station. Show me. The display showed their current position, far from any known star system. According to all official charts, they were flying through a region of space that contained nothing but cosmic dust and radiation. Yet the signal was definitely there, strong and clear. It's using a quantum encryption method I've never seen before, the officer said. But it's definitely human in origin. Ambassador Kim Woo-jin and Dr. Park So-young hurried to the bridge as the message was decoded. What they heard made them all stare at each other in amazement. Prometheus Dawn, this is Engineer Yu Jae-sung at Station Lighthouse 7. Please adjust your course to coordinates being transmitted now. Welcome to the real human presence in this galaxy. The 3 diplomats looked at the coordinates in confusion. According to every map they had, those coordinates pointed to empty space, but something was clearly there, waiting for them. Change course, Lee Taman ordered. Let's see what Engineer Yu has to show us. As they approached the coordinates, their sensors began picking up impossible readings. Energy signatures that matched human technology, but at power levels far beyond anything Earth was supposed to possess. The space around them seemed empty, but their instruments insisted otherwise. I'm detecting a massive structure, the sensor operator reported. But I can't see anything. Try adjusting the scanning frequency, Dr. Park So-young suggested. Maybe. They're using some kind of stealth technology. When the sensors switched to a different frequency range, the truth was revealed. An enormous space station materialized on their screens, easily 10 times larger than any structure humanity was known to have built. It hung in space like a hidden city, completely invisible to normal detection methods. How is this possible? Kim Woo-jin whispered. Their questions were answered when they docked with the station. Engineer Yoo Jae-sung met them at the airlock, a young man with bright eyes and an excited smile. Behind him stood a team of engineers and scientists, all human, all working with technology that seemed decades ahead of anything the Council had seen. "Welcome to the Real Human Space Program," Yoo Jae-sung said as he led them through corridors filled with humming machinery. "We've been waiting for this day for a long time." "This station," Dr. Park So-young said, looking around in wonder. "How long has it been here?" 15 years, Yoo Jae-sung replied. "It's one of 47 similar installations spread throughout this region of space. We call them lighthouse stations because they guide our ships through the darkness." They entered a control room where dozens of humans worked at advanced computer systems. Holographic displays showed star charts filled with hidden bases and secret colonies. Kim Woo-jin realized with growing amazement that humanity had built an entire hidden civilization. "But how?" he asked. "How did you keep this secret from the Council?" Yoo Jae-sung smiled and activated a large display. "Quantum entanglement communication networks. We can send messages instantly across any distance without using normal space channels. The Council has never detected our transmissions because they don't travel through space at all." The display showed the vast network of hidden human settlements, colonies in dead star systems that the Council had written off as uninhabitable, mining operations in dark matter clusters that normal sensors couldn't detect, research stations tucked into pocket dimensions that existed alongside normal space. For 50 years, while our diplomats played nice with the Council, our real expansion continued in secret, Yoo Jae-sung explained. "Every time we shared technology with the Council, we kept the best improvements for ourselves." Dr. Park So-young was studying the star charts with growing excitement. "You've been reverse engineering their technology and making it better." "Much better," came a new voice. Captain Bae Hyejin entered the control room, wearing the uniform of the Mars Colonial Defense Force. But something about her bearing suggested she commanded much more than just Mars. "Captain Bae," Kim Woo-jin said, recognizing her from official aisles. "I thought you were stationed on Mars." "I am," she replied with a grin. "But Mars isn't just a colony anymore. It's the command center for the largest military force humanity has ever built." She activated another display that showed the asteroid belt around Seoul. What had appeared to be normal mining operations were revealed as massive shipyards and military installations. Hundreds of vessels hung in space around Mars, using stealth technology to remain invisible to Earth-based sensors. "The Council thinks humanity has maybe 50 interstellar ships," Captain Bae Hyejin said. "The real number is closer to 5,000. Kim Woo-jin felt his worldview crashing down around him. 5,000? How is that possible? While Earth's government focused on diplomacy, the colonial defense forces focused on survival, she explained. "We knew this day would come. The Council's behavior pattern was predictable once you studied their history." "Dr. Shin Dong-wook figured it out first," Yoo Jae-sung added. "He's our top quantum physicist. His research stations exist in temporal anomalies where time moves differently. He's been studying Council species for subjective decades while only years passed in normal space." The implications hit Dr. Park So-young like a wave. "You mean we know more about them than they know about us?" "Much more," Captain Bae Hyejin confirmed. "We've mapped their psychology, their technology, their military capabilities, and their historical patterns. We knew they would ban us eventually, because that's what they always do when a species advances too quickly." A new alarm began sounding throughout the station. Lieutenant Nam Yuri rushed into the control room, her face grim with worry. "Captain, we're intercepting Council military communications. They're not just planning to quarantine us." "What do you mean?" Lee Tae-min asked. Lieutenant Nam Yuri activated the communication intercept system. The translated voices of Council military commanders filled the room. "The human expansion rate is unacceptable. said a Thorian general. "Quarantine will not be sufficient. We must implement the final protocol." "Agreed," replied a Kelhari admiral. "The Etherians, Nova Builders, and Star Weavers all showed similar patterns. We cannot allow another ascension event." "The strike fleet is already in position around the Sol system," added a Vorthon commander. "Once the quarantine period ends, we eliminate the threat permanently." The humans in the control room stared at each other in shock. The Council wasn't just banning them from galactic society. They were planning to destroy humanity entirely. "They're going to attack Earth," Kim Woo-jin whispered. Captain Bei Hyojin's expression hardened. "No, they're not." She activated the station's main communication array and began transmitting on encrypted channels. "All Lighthouse stations, this is Command Alpha. Initiate protocol ascension." "Repeat, initiate protocol ascension." Across the hidden network of human installations, people began moving with practiced efficiency. Ships powered up their engines. Weapon systems came online. The secret civilization that humanity had built in the shadows prepared to step into the light. "What's protocol ascension?" Dr. Park So-young asked. Yu Jae-sung smiled, but there was something cold in his expression now. "It's the plan we've been working toward for 50 years. The Council thinks they're dealing with the same naive humans who begged to join their little club 2 centuries ago. They have no idea what we've become," Captain Bei Hyojin added, "or what we're capable of." On the main display, hidden shipyards throughout the galaxy began launching vessels. These weren't the simple exploration ships the Council knew about. These were warships built with technology that made Council military equipment look primitive. The secret was out. Humanity's real expansion had been happening in the darkness, growing stronger while the Council debated whether to contain them. Now they would learn what happens when you threaten a species that had been preparing for war since the day they first met aliens. The future the Council feared had already begun. They just didn't know it yet. The Council's emergency session began 12 hours after their strike fleet reached the Sol system. In the Grand Chamber on Nexus Prime, the 12 alien representatives gathered with an urgency none of them had shown in centuries. The Vorthon, Prime Speaker's crystalline form, pulsed with nervous energy as it called the meeting to order. "The human situation has become more complex than anticipated," the Prime Speaker announced. "Military Command reports unusual readings from their hidden installations." The Kelhari delegates' 6 eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. "Define unusual." "Energy signatures that exceed our theoretical maximums," replied the Thorian representative, its massive form shifting uncomfortably. "Technology that appears to violate several fundamental principles we believed were universal constants." Meanwhile, in the darkness between stars, Commander An Subin watched the Council fleet through sensors they couldn't detect. Her stealth ship, the Shadow Walker, hung motionless in space just kilometers from the Council's flagship. She had been watching their military preparations for weeks, recording every detail of their technology and tactics. "Command, this is Subin. The Council fleet is positioning for orbital bombardment of Earth. Count is 47 heavy cruisers and 12 dreadnoughts." "Understood," came the reply from Captain Bei Hyojin. "Are you ready to implement Phase 2? Commander An Subin smiled coldly. She had spent 10 years infiltrating Council space, learning their weaknesses, mapping their defenses. Her team of black operations specialists had placed sleeper agents throughout Council territory. People who looked alien but carried human DNA, children and grandchildren of secret operatives who had been living among the enemy for generations. "Phase 2 is go," she confirmed. Across Council space, sleeper agents began activating. On the Kelhari homeworld, Dr. Velkari, who had served as a respected scientist for 15 years, suddenly gained access to their military command networks. On the Thorian capital ship, Engineer Moore Thane, trusted member of their engineering corps, began feeding false data to their targeting systems. These agents weren't just spies. They were humans who had been genetically modified to appear as other species, raised from birth to think and act like aliens. The Council's own security had welcomed them, never suspecting that their biology was fundamentally different from what it appeared to be. Back on Earth, Professor Lee Kyung-ho was presenting his findings to a secret gathering of human leaders. The elderly historian had spent decades studying patterns in galactic politics, and his conclusions were both terrifying and hopeful. The Council has quarantined species 3 times before in recorded history, he explained to the assembled group. The Etherians, the Nova Builders, and the Starweavers. Each time, the official records claim these species became extinct shortly after quarantine. But they didn't become extinct, did they? Asked Admiral Choi Mi-ran. Professor Lee Kyung-ho shook his head. I found fragments of data hidden in old archives, references to ascension events and dimensional transitions. The banned species didn't die. They evolved beyond the Council's ability to perceive or understand them. Evolved how? Dr. Park So-young asked. She had returned to Earth on the Prometheus dawn and was still trying to process everything she had learned. Consciousness expansion, the professor replied. Each banned species showed the same pattern. Rapid technological advancement followed by what appears to be a breakthrough in the nature of intelligence itself. They transcended the limitations that keep the Council species trapped in their current form. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The Council wasn't just afraid of human military power or technological advancement. They were afraid that humanity would evolve beyond their control entirely. The question is, Admiral Choi Mi-ran said quietly, are we ready to take that step? Her question was answered when Captain Park Jin-woo's report arrived from the outer system. His ghost fleet had been humanity's greatest secret, a collection of ships that existed in a state of quantum uncertainty, invisible to all known detection methods. Ghost leader to command, his transmission began. We have successfully positioned around all major Council installations in this sector. Phase 3 is ready for implementation. The Ghost Fleet wasn't just invisible. The ships existed in a modified space-time that allowed them to be in multiple locations simultaneously. Council sensors couldn't detect them because they weren't entirely in normal space. They were humanity's first step toward the kind of advanced existence that had allowed previous species to transcend galactic limitations. Dr. Yang Seo-jin's biological research had made it all possible. Working in secret laboratories hidden in asteroid bases, she had unlocked the secret of human genetic adaptability. Humans weren't just physically flexible, they could evolve their consciousness and perception in real time, adapting to new realities as they encountered them. The Council species are locked into fixed patterns of thought, she explained to a gathering of Earth's scientific leaders. Their psychology, their technology, even their biology remains essentially unchanged for millions of years. But humans can rewrite themselves at the genetic level to comprehend new forms of existence. Is that what happened to the other banned species? Asked Dr. Shin Dong-wook, joining the meeting via quantum communication from his temporal research station. I believe so, Dr. Yang Seo-jin replied. They reached a point where their consciousness expanded beyond the 3-dimensional thinking that limits the Council. They didn't disappear, they ascended to a higher form of existence. As if summoned by their discussion, new readings began appearing on monitoring stations throughout human space. Energy signatures that matched no known technology began manifesting near the outer colonies. Ships that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously were approaching human territory. Captain Song Min-seo was the first to make contact. Her exploration vessel, the Horizon Seeker, encountered the approaching ships near the edge of the solar system. What she found changed everything humanity thought they knew about the universe. This is Captain Song to Earth Command. Her transmission began, her voice filled with wonder. I am in contact with representatives of the Etherian collective. They are very much alive, and they've been waiting for us. The beings that materialized on her ship's bridge looked nothing like the Etherians in Council historical records. They appeared to be made of living light, their forms shifting between dimensions as they communicated through direct consciousness transfer rather than speech. We greet the newest candidates for ascension. Their message flowed directly into Captain Song's mind. The Council's fear has become reality. Your species has reached the threshold. Are you prepared to cross over? The implications hit Earth's leadership like a thunderbolt. The Council hadn't been lying about the banned species disappearing, but they hadn't been destroyed. They had evolved into something beyond the Council's understanding, and now they were offering to guide humanity through the same transformation. What does crossing over mean? Captain Song asked. Consciousness without limits, came the reply. Technology that responds to thought rather than manipulation. Existence across multiple dimensions simultaneously. The ability to perceive reality as it truly is, rather than the narrow slice your current form allows. On Earth, Admiral Choi Mi-ran received Captain Song's report with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Humanity stood at a crossroads. They could fight the Council with their hidden technology and probably win, or they could take the step into something entirely new, following the path of species who had transcended the limitations of normal galactic civilization. But first, they had to survive the Council's attack. The alien strike fleet was moving into position around Earth, preparing to implement their final protocol. They intended to eliminate humanity before the ascension process could begin. They had no idea that humanity was already far beyond their ability to stop. The future they feared wasn't coming, it had already arrived. The only question now was whether the Council would be invited to join it or left behind to stagnate in their perfect, unchanging prison of fear. Admiral Ko Yun-young stood in the command center buried 3 kilometers beneath the Martian surface, watching displays that showed the true scope of humanity's hidden empire. For 20 years, she had served as Supreme Commander of Operations. The public never knew existed. Today, those secrets would finally be revealed. Ma'am, the Council strike fleet has begun charging their weapons, reported her tactical officer. Estimated time to bombardment of Earth, 6 hours. Admiral Ko smiled calmly. Then it's time for them to learn what humanity has really been doing for the past 50 years. She activated the quantum communication array that connected every hidden human installation across the galaxy. All stations, all ships, all personnel. This is Admiral Ko Yun-young, Supreme Command. Authorization code, Prometheus Rising. Implement Revelation Protocol. Show them what we've become. Across known space, humanity's true civilization began to uncloak itself. The Council's sensors, designed to detect normal matter and energy, suddenly registered impossible readings. Structures that had been invisible materialized in star systems the Council thought they controlled. Ships that existed in folded spacetime became visible in normal dimensions. On Nexus Prime, the Council chamber erupted in chaos as their monitoring systems tried to process the incoming data. The Kelhari delegate's voice rose to a shriek. There are human installations in our home system. How is this possible? Not just installations, the Thorian representative rumbled, its massive form trembling with shock. Entire cities. They've been there for decades. Dr. Moon Jae-hyun's dimensional laboratories had been the key to humanity's hidden expansion. Working in spaces that existed parallel to normal reality, human scientists had learned to fold space-time itself, creating pockets of existence that occupied the same coordinates as Council worlds but in shifted dimensional phases. We've been watching you for 20 years, Dr. Moon broadcast on all Council communication frequencies. Every meeting, every decision, every military exercise. We know your psychology better than you know yourselves. His words were accompanied by proof. Recordings of private Council sessions that should have been impossible to obtain. Tylidi. Psychological profiles of every Council leader. Military plans that had been copied before they were even finalized. Captain Song Min-seo's report from her contact with the Etherian Collective had changed everything. Now humanity knew what they were becoming, and they were no longer afraid of the transformation. If anything, they were eager to begin. The ascended species have been guiding us, Admiral Ko announced to her command staff. Every breakthrough, every technological advancement, every strategic decision has been influenced by beings who transcended these limitations eons ago. Ambassador Lim Hai-wan materialized in the command center, but not through normal transportation. She simply appeared, her form shifting between dimensions as she spoke. She had been humanity's secret envoy to the ascended species for 5 years, learning their abilities and preparing for this moment. The Etherians, Nova Builders, and Star Weavers have been preparing us, she said, her voice carrying harmonics that seemed to come from multiple dimensions simultaneously. They've been waiting for a species capable of joining them in true transcendence. What exactly does that mean? Asked Captain Lee Taeman, who had arrived on Mars aboard the Prometheus Dawn. Ambassador Lim Hae-won gestured, and the air around her shimmered with energy patterns that hurt to look at directly. Consciousness expansion beyond the limitations of single-dimensional thinking. The ability to perceive and manipulate reality at the quantum level through thought alone. Technology that responds to intention rather than mechanical manipulation. She demonstrated by reaching toward a nearby control panel. Instead of touching it, she simply thought at it, and the entire system responded to her mental commands. The machines weren't just obeying programmed instructions, they were interacting directly with her consciousness. This is what the Council fears, she continued. Not our weapons or our ships, but our potential to evolve beyond the narrow existence they've trapped themselves in. The demonstration was interrupted by urgent reports from across human space. Captain Park Jin-woo's Ghost Fleet was engaging Council forces in multiple sectors simultaneously, and the results were devastating for the aliens. Ghost Leader to command. His transmission began. Council forces are attempting to attack our installations. Their weapons are having no effect. Our ships are existing in multiple probability states. They can't target what they can't understand. The Ghost Fleet wasn't just using advanced stealth technology. The ships had been built using principles learned from the ascended species, existing in quantum superposition until they chose to interact with normal reality. Council weapons couldn't hit targets that were simultaneously everywhere and nowhere. But humanity's response went beyond mere defense. Dr. Yang Seo-jin's consciousness amplification network came online, connecting every human across their hidden empire in a vast collective intelligence. Suddenly, humans throughout the galaxy found their thinking accelerated to superhuman levels. The effect was immediate and profound. Engineers solved problems in minutes that should have taken years. Scientists made breakthrough discoveries in real time. Military strategists developed tactics that seemed to predict enemy actions before they happened. The network is fully operational, Dr. Yang reported. We now have access to the combined intelligence of every human in the galaxy, amplified by quantum processing systems we learned to build from the ascended species. Admiral Ko watched as the tactical displays showed Council forces becoming increasingly confused and desperate. Their attacks were failing, their strategies were being countered before they could implement them, and they were facing technology they couldn't understand. It's time for the final revelation, she decided. Open communication channels to all Council leadership. The transmission that reached the Council chamber on Nexus Prime was unlike anything in their recorded history. Instead of a single human representative, they were faced with what appeared to be a collective consciousness that spoke with the combined voice of the entire human species. Council of the 12 Worlds. The transmission began, the voice carrying harmonics that suggested vast intelligence behind it. We are no longer the species you voted to quarantine. We have become something new. Images accompanied the words, showing human colonies that existed across multiple dimensions, ships that could travel instantly between any 2 points in the universe, and technologies that manipulated the fundamental forces of reality through conscious intention. You sought to contain us because you feared we would evolve beyond your control. The collective voice continued. Your fear has become reality, but we offer you a choice. The display showed 2 paths branching out from the present moment. In one path, the Council continued their attack and faced the full power of humanity's transcended civilization. In the other, they accepted an invitation to join the ascension process themselves. We can teach you to transcend the limitations that have trapped your species in static existence for millions of years, the transmission offered. Or you can remain as you are, and we will ensure you are protected but left behind as the universe evolves beyond your current understanding. The key choice was presented with mathematical precision. Join the transcendence or be bypassed by it. There would be no destruction, no conquest, no revenge. Simply evolution continuing with or without them. You have one galactic standard day to decide, the collective voice concluded. After that, we begin the next phase of cosmic development, with or without your participation. The transmission ended, leaving the Council chamber in absolute silence. For the first time in their recorded history, the 12 species faced a decision that would determine not just their political future, but the fundamental nature of their existence. The humans they had tried to contain no longer needed containment. They had become something that operated beyond the rules the Council thought governed reality itself. The question now was whether the Council would have the courage to evolve, or whether they would choose to remain prisoners of their own fear. 6 months after humanity's ultimatum, the galaxy had transformed into something unrecognizable. The old boundaries between star systems no longer mattered, when consciousness could travel instantly across any distance. The careful balance of power that had defined galactic politics for millennia had become meaningless when some species could manipulate reality through thought alone. Kim Da-un stood at the center of what had once been the Mars command facility, but the space around her existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. She had been the first human to complete the full ascension process, and now she served as the primary interface between humanity's collective consciousness and the material universe. Her physical form shifted constantly, sometimes appearing as normal human flesh, sometimes as patterns of living light, sometimes as geometric shapes that existed in mathematical spaces beyond normal perception. When she spoke, her words carried the combined wisdom of every human who had chosen to join the collective mind. The transformation proceeds as the Etherians predicted, she reported to the assembled representatives of the ascended species. 3. Council species have requested guidance through the ascension process. 2 others have chosen exile to distant galaxies rather than face the change. The remaining 7 cling to their original territories, but they no longer oppose our expansion. The Etherian representative shimmered into visibility beside her, its form a flowing pattern of energy that suggested vast intelligence constrained into a shape minds could perceive. The resistance was expected. Evolution is always difficult, for species that have grown comfortable with limitations. Captain Ryu Sung-ho materialized in the space between dimensions, his consciousness returning from overseeing the construction of the evolution gates. These massive structures, each one larger than a moon, had been placed throughout the galaxy to facilitate the ascension process for species ready to transcend their current existence. The Kelhari have completed their first group transformation, he reported. Their natural curiosity made them excellent candidates. The Vorthans are proceeding more slowly, but their crystalline nature actually gives them advantages in multidimensional perception. And the Zephyrians? Kim Da-un asked. Still debating, Captain Ryu replied with something that might have been amusement. Their committee-based decision-making doesn't adapt well to concepts that require intuitive leaps. The irony wasn't lost on any of them. The council species that had feared humanity's rapid adaptation now found themselves struggling with the very flexibility they had once criticized. Change, it turned out, was much easier for species that had never grown comfortable with staying the same. Dr. Chai Yejin's voice reached them through the quantum consciousness network. She was working with the first group of alien volunteers, guiding them through the careful process of expanding their awareness beyond the limitations of single-dimensional thinking. The Kelhari scientist Velkari has achieved stable multidimensional perception, she reported. She can now interact with reality at the quantum level, though she still requires technological assistance for major manipulations. That's excellent. Progress, Kim Da-un replied. It took most humans months to reach that level of integration. The transformation wasn't just technological or mental. As consciousness expanded, the very nature of existence became fluid. Beings who completed the ascension process could exist across multiple realities simultaneously, experiencing the universe from perspectives that were impossible for unascended minds to comprehend. Captain Song Min Seo's exploration vessel, now existing as much in probability space as in normal reality, had made contact with civilizations in distant galaxies. Her report spoke of vast networks of ascended species, cosmic threats that required expanded consciousness to combat, and wonders that no single-dimensional being could even perceive. The next challenge is approaching, she transmitted from a region of space that existed between galaxies. The Etherians have shown me what's coming in approximately 5,000 years. Entities from outside our dimensional framework will attempt to collapse local reality into a single stable state. The implications were staggering. The ascension process wasn't just about evolution for its own sake. It was preparation for cosmic level, threats that would require beings capable of thinking beyond the normal limitations of space and time. This is why the progression was orchestrated, the Etherian explained. Each species that transcends adds to the collective capability needed to preserve reality itself. The Council's stagnation was not just limiting, it was dangerous to the universe's long-term stability. Council Premier Zix-9 was the first alien leader to voluntarily undergo the consciousness expansion process. The Vorthan's crystalline structure actually enhanced the transformation, allowing rapid integration of multidimensional awareness, now speaking with harmonics that resonated across several reality layers simultaneously. Premier Zix-9 addressed the remaining council members. "I have seen what we were refusing." The Premier's transmission reached the old council chamber on Nexus Prime. "We trapped ourselves in patterns of thought that prevented growth. The humans didn't threaten our stability, they offered us the chance to evolve beyond the need for stability." "You sound different," the Kelhari delegate observed. "Changed." I am different," Premier Zix-9 confirmed. "I can perceive reality as it actually exists rather than the narrow slice our old consciousness allowed us to see. The universe is vast beyond our previous comprehension, filled with wonders and dangers we never imagined." The remaining council members faced their final choice. Several star systems had already gone dark, their inhabitants choosing to reject the ascension entirely and retreating into isolation rather than face the transformation. Others had requested immediate integration into the expansion process, eager to experience consciousness without limits. Dr. Park So-young, now serving as humanity's ambassador to species attempting ascension, materialized in the council chamber. Her form shifted between dimensions as she spoke, demonstrating capabilities that the council had once considered impossible. "The process is voluntary," she assured them. "No one will be forced to evolve, but understand that the universe itself is changing. Reality is becoming more fluid, more responsive to consciousness. Those who refuse to grow will find themselves increasingly isolated from the flow of cosmic development." "What about those who choose to remain as they are?" asked the Thorian representative. "They will be protected," Dr. Park promised, "preserved in stable regions of spacetime where the old rules still apply. They can maintain their current existence for as long as they choose." But even as she spoke, new readings were appearing on monitoring systems throughout the galaxy. The evolution gates were detecting incoming transmissions from civilizations beyond the galactic rim. Species that had completed their own ascension processes were beginning to make contact, drawn by the quantum signatures of rapidly expanding consciousness. Kim Da-yoon received the first formal communication from these distant civilizations. The message came through channels that existed in mathematical spaces beyond normal physics, but its meaning was clear. "This is the Andromeda Collective," the transmission began. "We greet the new ascended civilization. Your expansion rate suggests readiness for cosmic-level cooperation. Are you prepared to join the greater network?" The revelation hit even the ascended humans with stunning force. The transformation they had undergone wasn't unique to their galaxy. Consciousness expansion was happening throughout the universe, creating a vast network of transcended civilizations working together on scales that spanned cosmic time. The greater network has been preparing for the reality collapse event for millions of years. The Andromeda message continued. "Your rapid ascension provides capabilities we require. Will you join the effort to preserve dimensional stability?" Kim Da-eun, speaking for the collective human consciousness, transmitted their response across the cosmic distances. "We accept the invitation. What do you need us to do?" The answer came with technical specifications that would have been incomprehensible to unascended minds. Projects that required the manipulation of entire star systems, the construction of reality-stabilizing structures across multiple galaxies, and the coordination of consciousness-based technologies on scales that measured time in geological epochs. As the full scope of cosmic civilization revealed itself, the old conflicts between humanity and the Council seemed almost quaint. The question was no longer whether humans should be allowed to expand rapidly. The question was whether any species would be ready to face the challenges that existence in an infinite, evolving universe presented. In the end, 7 of the 12 council species chose ascension. 3 chose isolation in protected spacetime regions. 2 departed for distant galaxies where they could maintain their traditional existence without interference. The galaxy they left behind bore no resemblance to the carefully ordered territory the Council had once governed. Reality itself had become more flexible, more responsive to the intentions of conscious beings. What had once seemed like humanity's punishment for growing too quickly had become the foundation for a new kind of cosmic civilization. And in the vast spaces between galaxies, work began on projects that would take millions of years to complete.